Hello and welcome back to Endless Space 2 Abridged. In the previous part, we waged war against Horatio, the other guys in our constellation, mostly successfully. We also allied to the constellation to our left with the green guys to jointly fight against the orange abductors to our north, so that's handy. And later we defeated Horatio mostly and have secured the inner ring of the galaxy, after which I generally just declared victory. I think we're going to win from here, and now we're going to find out. The current thing I'm doing is giving all of my money to the pirates, because my story objective is to have cordial relations with the pirates for 12 turns. Turns out that's going to take a lot of bribery to achieve, so in the background I'll be gradually taking all of my money and giving it to them in the hopes that they'll like me, and then maybe something good will happen later as a result. I lost my vital law here, not quite sure why actually, but the law that gives us extra happiness for being at peace goes away. We do still have the pacifists in power, not quite sure what cancels the law, maybe they expire after a while. Well, I'm just going to put it straight back into force because our empire is completely reliant on having this law in particular be there all the time. Nothing else approaches the same level of happiness bonus. Perhaps the pacifists were outraged that we actually are at war right now with the orange faction due to our alliance with the green faction. Here they are, orbiting over Auriga, our old homeworld. I happen to have some ships here to take them out. The ships were here to guard our colony ship, which has also come to Auriga. I was thinking, if I make a colony on this story-relevant planet, maybe something special would happen. So here we go. This, of course, only worsens our happiness debuff due to over-colonization. We're just doing it anyway at this stage. It's an okay planet, lots of science and money to find apparently. But nothing particularly special happens. I think, as mentioned in the previous part, because the story is something to do with Auriga, and we're not at that part in the story, me being here and building things on it doesn't do anything in particular. So maybe we'll come back to all this in the future, I don't know. For now, just another normal system to build up. We've also now got one thing helping us with the happiness situation. You'll see it for a brief moment there on that tooltip. We get plus 25 happiness from having an endless wonder park, or something it was called. We've built a special theme park on our home system. We only have the opportunity to do that because our home system is the home system of the previous mega civilization. You had this special wonder you could make that I think only we could make as well, which makes everybody happy, so that's perfect for over-colonizing. We get given another quest here to build 3 gamma analysis platforms, a science building. Well, we're going to be doing that anyway, because I'm going to be making science buildings everywhere that I can. Since we have enough territory, we have the opportunity to just get ahead of everybody else in the tech tree if we focus on research, and if nobody attacks us. We're going to be as pacifist as possible now, apart from the war. Don't let the pacifists know about that, and hopefully everything will work out okay. Time for some more intel. I was able to get map sharing with a faction I hadn't seen yet, and some money out of the deal as well. The pirates will enjoy that. And part of the deal allowed me to find out where Red are as well, the guys we're sort of at war with. They claim to be at war with us, but they're not really doing anything and we don't really know where they are. Until now, they've got some terrible looking homeworld off to the bottom right end of the map. We also find another minor civilization. We'll quickly get in contact with them in case we can steal their stuff one day. Even if you don't assimilate them, they still give you some free resources if they like you. As for that light blue faction, they're to the south on the edge of the galaxy. They only have a tiny bit of territory by the looks of things, so they're not very significant. But they can see a little bit of Red's territory, a kind of corner there, and their homeworld in particular. It's inconvenient because the 2 factions that are most likely to be fighting us, Orange and Red, are at the opposite ends of the map, so with our big ring, it's going to be as hard as possible to defend the 2 sides so far apart. Although there is a special solution to that available, unique to our faction I believe. We'll get to that in a second. Here I once again lose my peace law. I'm not quite sure why the law goes away. I feel like it didn't do it before. Maybe it's because we don't have that much influence anymore, and sometimes the fluctuations mean we can't afford it for a turn, or something like that. Well, if anyone knows, let me know in the comments. It will be too late of course, but nice to know anyway. Things are looking up once again. We remain stable despite being way over the colonization limit. Here comes another election. We need to make sure to use our bit of extra support to give it to the pacifists, because the militarists are actually polling higher than the pacifists, probably because we're at war and stuff, it's influencing their power. Well, we put ourselves behind the pacifists and see what happens. Again, this results screen, very confusing, but it's quite pretty. I must say I don't really know what's going on. I think having that thing in the middle doesn't help. Well, here's the actual result. It's the scientists and the pacifists, now in coalition government, I suppose. Absolutely perfect. We can celebrate the continued reign of pacifism by killing some people right above our capital. Maybe they won't notice. Down they go. We also, at the capital, have a portal constructed. That's why there's that little icon to the left of the word winks there. On the right, you see our fleet finally getting back from the other side of the map. What I could have done is build another portal on the other side of the map and then send the fleet through, which happens instantaneously. That's a unique thing our faction can do, I believe. So this allows us to, in the long run, overcome the fact our empire is such a horrendous shape strategically, because if we put portals around the circle here and there, the effective distance between everything shrinks down, and it will function from a pathfinding perspective as if all of our territories were clumped together in the middle, so to speak. Well, that's something I'll get to eventually. I probably should have done it already, but I was avoiding making the portal buildings because you have to pay to upkeep them, and I'm trying to save money to give to the pirates. Yes, more high quality pacifism. We get some more intel on another faction. This time it's purple to the north. They're up there in a blob, they vaguely like us, and we're probably not going to have to worry about them, but now we know where they are, so that's all very nice. We complete the science competitive quest that I mentioned before. Those competitive quests, by the way, are quests that everybody has at the same time, but whoever does it first gets the reward. In this case, it's a hologram of one of the ancient people from the previous civilization, I think anyway. And the purple faction expressed that they're happy that we're so scientific, so we're making friends with them very rapidly, it seems. Here's a checkup with the happiness situation. We've got something like plus 75 from our peace laws and from our wonder, so that counteracts our overcolonization completely. We are stable in this advantageous position. That's all looking good. I'm able to expand the alliance by getting the light blue faction to join, and they even give me some of their tech in exchange. So now we have light blue to the south and green to our left. So we've got this big quadrant of the galaxy that is all on our side. And as it says there, we are apparently close to actually winning the game, which was a bit surprising. We'll look into that in a second. Blue is promising to send military aid for our war with Orange. Well, thank you very much. Probably not going to arrive before anything happens. Here is the victory screen. So I was checking out to what extent we are about to win. As far as I can tell here, we're not. We're less than halfway to the conquest victory for having a certain number of systems, and we're also about halfway to the supremacy victory, which is a similar sort of thing, but I think it's only capturing capitals or homeworlds of other civilizations. We have 4 of the 8 possible. So, I don't know why it's saying we're about to win. Maybe we're about to win relative to everybody else, because everyone else has like 1 homeworld and only a few systems. We're far ahead in that regard. I don't know. Well, this isn't the end of the campaign as it turns out, so let's look at some more stuff. Here we are, finally arriving with our main fleet at Orange's homeworld. Took a really long time to get here and nothing happened on the way, and now I can't even fight their ship as it turns out. They've got 1 ship here, but it's a special Ark-type ship, maybe the kind of ship that's been stealing my population. Well, it's in some sort of state where it can't be fought. I also can't really attack their planets because their defenses are stronger than my ground army on the fleet. So all I can really do is sit there and siege them down. This will gradually weaken their ground army. We got a peace deal with Horatio, further increasing our public order bonus due to peacefulness, and settling our previous war by the looks of things. He now likes us because I gave him some leaves of some kind, and that's all good. We've got a really good pacifist setup here. We're allied to a couple of factions, we're at peace with a bunch more. The red guys here we can't be at peace with because they're just a race of bloodthirsty machines that wants to consume the galaxy or something, so we're not allowed to ask them to stop. But we're going to be pretty close to being as peaceful as possible, and once we conclude this war with Orange, people are going to love the extent to which we're not at war with everybody. And this all includes being nice to the pirates as well. We've given them tons of cash, we've had 12 turns of good relations with them. So, we've completed a story quest, got a useful extra movement part for our ships, and now the next story quest. What we're actually doing in the story is we are searching both for Opbot, which is a robot that helped us get to this point in the future by keeping us alive while we were frozen, lost in space, and we're looking for the rest of our people, I guess. So here it's telling us to go back to Auriga, our home planet, which we handily have already discovered. I've even already colonized it at this stage, so we actually have people there right now. We have a choice of what to do on the planet. We can send some military stuff there, or send a science ship there. Just making you choose a priority, really. We're going to go with science wherever we can. Right after that, we get this truce deal from Orange. I wanted to refuse the deal because we might be able to take their homeworld and really put the pressure on them. But the cost of not accepting the truce was massive for whatever reason. So we do accept it, and the war just kind of ends with not very much having happened. They stole some of our population, we didn't quite get our revenge, but we're just going home now anyway. As far as we can tell, they only have 2 systems, so Orange is super weak anyway. Here's another thing that I got to grips with around this point, the influence system. We have maximum influence pressure against Purple. That means our borders are pushing against theirs really hard, basically, in this situation. And once you've built up a pressure bar from this happening, you can ask them to give you stuff. I did want to avoid this because I thought maybe they'll hate you for trying to demand things of them. As far as I can tell, they don't. It just releases the pressure somewhat. In this case, they didn't accept my demands to give me stuff, but they get a punishment for not accepting the demands, so they're going to lose a bunch of influence, helping us get even more influence pressure against Purple in the future. Well, while we're friends with them, we're just going to bully them for stuff anyway because we're so much more powerful than them by the looks of things. Now I've got a science ship to Auriga. Looks like our people aren't there, as it turns out. I suppose our earlier colonists didn't tell us that. They left at some point, but also had some underground vaults, which gives us the tech to do the same thing on our other planets for bonus science. Turns out though that some mysterious guy, the leader of the Academy, that's the place we found earlier in the campaign, where magical people come from, he has some clues about where our old civilization might be now, and in particular the clue that they are alive somewhere else, so there's an offshoot of our Oregon race out there in the galaxy. We can choose to impress him by having 15 temperate planets, and then I think he's going to give us some clues. So I'm immediately looking around to see where I could find a temperate planet to colonize. This of course means going even further over the colonization limit, but we can tolerate that at this stage. Here's one example of a temperate planet. That one, pretty much the first place I checked, actually was where I ended up colonizing. I looked around the galaxy looking for a system with 2 temperate planets in it, but couldn't find one. One interesting thing though is that while looking around, I noticed that Red actually has a fleet in our territory currently blockading one of our systems here. Highly suspicious. I had been ignoring Red just because while they were doing some warmongering talk, they didn't really appear to be building up or actually attacking us. Well, maybe they were and I wasn't paying attention. Because we're not technically at war, they're not allowed to attack me in my own territory, only outside of my borders. So that fleet blockading us can't lay siege to the planet. It just makes my fleet stop as it goes past them to sort of be in their blockade. Well, I can ask them to leave, they say no, we get mad at them, seems like something is being stirred up over there, so once again our fleet needs to move across the entire galaxy to be anywhere close to that potential threat. But by this stage, I did have a portal both in my home system and the home system of the Horatio as well, I think, so we can jump most of the way very quickly. Now another development, we unlocked a tech that allows us to trade things on the market. And I was very happy to see this, because I remembered in Stellaris, trading things on the market was just like the ultimate exploit to get around every economic problem. It was very powerful, and it's pretty much the same in this game. We're always going to end up with a surplus of something or other, and loads of resources that we're not using, and we can just trade them in for cash, so our cash problems are going to be out the window from now on. In particular, I found that selling these potatoes that I have makes me extremely wealthy. But there's an interesting caveat. I've got like 500 potatoes and I put them all up for sale. But I notice if I reduce the amount I'm selling, the price I get for it doesn't really go down. So it's actually taking into account some kind of supply-demand system, where really we just have to put the amount of potatoes on the market that fulfills the demand, and that will give us most of the available money. and then we'll have to wait for the value of potatoes to bounce back or something. But we've got loads of other things in there, as you can see, that we could sell, and some of them are worth quite a lot of cash. Basically, cash is going to be fine from now on. Still found another use for those potatoes though. I gave a couple of hundred of taters to Horatio and he was very happy with that, enough so to become my ally. Now I was really just doing this in order to complete the story of us with Horatio. We were rivals, we eventually went to a vague peaceful situation, and now we're friends. This actually presented a problem though, in an unexpected way, because it turns out you can only have so many allies, and we now have that amount. Plus, I just made my final ally slot, probably the weakest faction in the game, so not a very good ally, and it seems that a knock-on effect is that by forming this allied bloc, we've now been kicked out of our peace treaties with everybody else, so it's kind of like we're aligning ourselves together but against everyone else by extension, and now people don't like us, they think we've deliberately gone to Cold War with them, getting rid of our peace treaties, so they don't want to go back into peace because of that hatred that's been built up. Very inconvenient. We should have made purple our final ally. Well, we've learnt the hard way. I think we can kick Horatio out and have the slot free again, but I'm too nice. I feel like Horatio is along for the ride with us now. We've got too much history, so we'll just babysit them and see what happens. You might note there are more lines on the map now than there used to be. There was another tech you could unlock that adds additional lines effectively. Some hidden warp channels appear. So the constellations are more connected than they were before. This doesn't really matter for us because we're not leaving our constellation or traveling anywhere really. We're just sitting here doing nothing. It does mean we're more vulnerable to invasion than we were before. However, no one's really geared up to actually do that. Although here's a bit of military action. My fleet, on the way to the red corner, encounters this ship from purple, decided to attack it. I don't really know why. Since we're at Cold War now, we're allowed to fight their ships outside of their territory. There is a potential upside to killing those guys, in that purple then asks me to not do it anymore, and we can use that to get more pacifist points, maybe, or something, I don't know. Maybe this improves our relations with them in a roundabout way because we agreed to be nice to them after killing them. Looks like I really considered going for refuse here. Maybe I was thinking of actually going to war with purple now that we've kind of been split off from them diplomatically. But no, we managed to keep the peace. Now here is a mistake on my part. We have this election. I was about to support the pacifists as per the plan. For an unknown reason though, I decided to switch to supporting the scientists who were just going to win anyway, even without my support. I don't know why I did that, but the result is that the pacifists get kicked out of power because one of the very small factions gets everybody's second vote in some sort of ranked choice system and launches themselves to power. That means we no longer have our peace laws in place and we just got like -70 happiness across all of our systems. Very inconvenient, so I'm now scrambling back to the law screen, hoping to do something to rectify this. We can get +20 happiness from this law that reduces your productivity, but without the pacifists in power, we are not able to remember how to be peaceful or something. We just can't do it. We're just about able to be stable. With that Toys for Boys law, it avoided mutiny on our capital system just about, so we're stable but now at a very low level of happiness everywhere. Here's me finally making a good use of that demand system. I got them to accept a demand to give me all of their antimatter, that's purple, which was a massive boost to my antimatter supply, so that's a nice strategic gain. And here we are, going after red at last. Red's fleet had kind of split up and moved around the place, so I just used my fleet to take down their little pockets of ships here and there in the general bottom right hand corner of the map, and not much happened with that. Very easy stuff. Now we're negotiating with Mummy because I want to get a peace deal with Green. I have to give them a tech to get it, but apparently I was willing to do that. I think the overall rationale is that we have an economic advantage over everybody else, but we don't have many ships. I'd actually seen Purple's fleet and it was much bigger and more powerful looking than mine. So my main goal was to not have any wars happen, and we're going to be able to achieve this. There, I just grabbed a peace deal with Orange by giving them some Hyperium strategic resources, and I can do a similar thing with Purple. This stuff was in high demand apparently, so we give that out, get more and more peace deals, and suddenly things are looking more peaceful than they were before. I think it was kicking out the pacifists that really encouraged peace in the galaxy. I don't quite know how that works, but now we're at peace with everybody except the red guys who we can't be at peace with, and we've got more allies than ever before. So if I did have that peace law right now, we'd be rolling in the happiness. We need to get the pacifists back. As for Red, well, their fleets are gone. I'm just going to blockade their capital system and put them to siege. They can't stop me as far as I can tell at this stage. We can just siege them down for as long as we want, and then take out their homeworld at our leisure later, and that will be Red out of the equation effectively, even if their faction survives. The galaxy will be at peace. If only we had our pacifists back in power, we could make extra use of this. And it turns out there is going to be a way for us to kind of force the pacifists back into power, but it's not going to be clean or especially easy. So I'm going to talk about that at the start of the next part, and whatever else happens, which may well be nothing if everything goes according to my plan. Thanks for watching this OffyD gameplay commentary. Check out the playlists on my channel for more.